Hey everyone, long time no see. We're about to do the Part Two, Part Two review. I got to see Dune Part Two last weekend, so I thought I would talk about it. I know I haven't been here in a while, trying to get some stuff sorted, but now I'm figuring it out. So we're gonna do Dune Part Two. I saw it last weekend at that early preview screening that AMC was doing. Saw it in IMAX. It was beautiful. I can't get over how gorgeous this film is. Just to start, it is a beautiful film. I will be going over some spoilers, just minor spoilers, some plot things, and talking about some characters in this video. So if you haven't seen it yet, or if you're interested in seeing some spoilers, stay tuned or come back later, watch this later, give it a like and whatnot. So let's get some details down at the top of this. Dune Part 2 coming out this weekend. Today is the 1st of March, directed by Denis Villeneuve, Denis Villeneuve, written by John Spites, and of course Frank Herbert wrote the original Dune. I was a big fan of the version that came out, Dune Part 1, a couple of years ago. Huge fan of that, and I could not wait for this one to come out finally. And it did. It's here. Sorry, I'm getting some, there we go, focus issues. It's finally out. I urge everybody to see it in a theater if they can, especially IMAX if you could swing it, because I don't think anything else compares to watching that movie in IMAX. Greg Fraser, who's the cinematographer of this, and I love Greg Fraser. He did the last Batman movie too. Let me pull up some of his other I don't know off the top of my head some of his other films, but he did the Batman, and I thought the Batman that came out a couple years ago is a beautiful film. I really love. He did Rogue One, a Star Wars story. He did the first Dune. He did Zero Dark 30. Really talented cinematographer. He knows his stuff. He's a big nerd about how things look and photography, and how Dune is just you drop yourself into this world, Arrakis. There's a lot of political and religious kind of intrigue going on. There's a lot of heavy themes going on throughout this whole film about kind of heretics, prophecies. There's a lot of heavy religion undertones, following false prophets. Are prophets real in this universe? Are they this tangible thing that can happen, or is it just kind of wishful thinking, or are things just happenstance? A lot of that we see in this movie with Paul Atreides, played by Tim Chalamet. He kind of gets thrust into this leadership position. Some of it unwillingly, some of it I think he feels like he needs to do it on behalf of the family name and his father, who was killed in the first movie, played by Oscar Isaacs. And it just blows up from here. It's almost a 3-hour movie. The pacing is insanely good. I don't think I've ever been in a 3-hour movie, including Oppenheimer, that I felt like just moved. And by the end of it, I'm like, what just happened to the last 3 hours? I felt that with Dune. Zendaya gave a phenomenal performance. I cannot wait to see what happens in Part 3 with her character. She's going to have so much more to do. She had way more to do in this one than the previous Dune, which I'm glad to see. I'm a big Zendaya fan. I'm glad that she got more to do in this film. But the cast was insane. Rebecca Ferguson was unsettling as Lady Jessica throughout this whole movie. She took on this new role, the Reverend Mother, and she wanted Timothy, or Paul Atreides, or Paul Muad'Dib Atreides, or I forgot how they order that. She's just so sinister and cunning in this film, and it she blew me away. I love what happens with all these characters. I felt like so much was happening in the first one. You didn't really get that much time with them. You didn't really get to understand fully about their motives and who they are. And even in this film, it's very confusing. And I think the characters are really confusing. A lot is happening very quickly. You have a lot to fit into, like, even a 3-hour movie, 2 3-hour movies. And I think Denis and his editors did a fantastic job at actually finding some kind of balance in both of these movies to tell a big, very complicated, very diverse, very fluid kind of story in the editing. It's just incredible. It's like a feat of filmmaking. I can't stop gushing. Someone who did really surprise me, maybe not surprised, but I really loved the performance of, and he ate up all the time he had on screen, was Austin Butler as Feyd-Rautha, or I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he played this kind of just brutal soldier killer type, and he was just kind of gross and little, just sniveling, but he was brutal. And anytime he was on screen, it kind of blew me away. I was like, this guy is killing it. This guy, you forget that it's Austin Butler you're watching, the guy who was Elvis like 2 years ago, and now he's like this crazy, killer. And he's a pretty big presence throughout this huge epic movie. And he has a lot of fantastic scenes, a lot of great fight scenes. And a lot of people are talking about is the fight scene he has with Timothée Chalamet towards the end. Hand-to-hand combat, really exciting, really well choreographed. It's just like the tension is so palpable and so beautiful in that scene. And I'm going again tomorrow. I'm going again to watch Dune Part 2 tomorrow, just because I want more of that in the theater. I know it's going to be in the theater for a long time at this point, but I want to get to see it maybe at least 2 or 3 times in the theater, because I think it's too beautiful and too captivating not to watch in a theater with your full attention. Florence Pugh didn't get to do a ton in this film, but when she was on screen, she's always great. She always does a phenomenal job. Really love seeing her in almost anything. Her father, the Emperor, played by Christopher Walken. I'm always mixed about the roles Christopher Walken plays. I've seen a lot more of his comedy roles, but he still has the chops. I mean, he doesn't have a ton to do in this film too, but whenever he is on screen, he nails it. You definitely get somebody who felt, he's made a lot of terrible, really kind of gross, maybe even evil kind of decisions. You learn a lot of things about the Emperor and what he's done, especially to the Atreides family, that is just deplorable. And Paul finds out, and he wants revenge. He just wants revenge. There's a lot of other great characters in this part of the film. I almost see part 1 and part 2 as the same film, just separated. Javier Bardem as Stilgar, fantastic. He plays kind of this devout. He believes that Paul is, the one the prophecy speaks of, and he's very devout in that. And he also acts more than I expected as kind of a comic relief, and some of the things he says. A lot of laugh out loud moments with Javier Bardem, at least in the screening I saw last weekend, which I didn't expect. This movie was definitely a lot funnier. There's a lot of really great dialogue moments, and just moments in general with Paul and Chani, Timothy and Zendaya's character. They have a lot of very beautiful, well acted scenes together that I still think about, and some of it is heartbreaking and crushing when you're seeing how some of these things are playing out in this world and in their lives. Again, there's so much going on in the world of Dune and on Arrakis, and with all the other colonies everywhere, and It's really heavy. You feel the weight of all the tough decisions everybody has to make, and the questioning, and the struggles, and the sadness, and the anger, and makes the small moments of happiness. And this is where Denis does really excellent job. Makes all the little smaller moments of happiness so much more beautiful, and then you could feel it. He gives time enough for you to feel these moments with these characters, which is. I've tried to read the book in the past, and the book is very dense. I'm a big fan of sci-fi, but it's hard to find the time to really dive deep and give that book the attention it needs. And I know there's a lot of differences between these movies and even the Lynch version, of course, and the book. But I think Denis loves this story so much, and he's spoken so vividly about his love for this book, and how he has so much respect for what Frank Herbert did, and his family, and a lot of the intention he had early on. I read an interview where he talks about how he took some of the other intention that Frank Herbert had for the story and used some of it here in place of what was in some of the published works. And I think that's so interesting and fascinating, so you could get kind of a different thing that is in the universe of what the book provides. Obviously, there's going to be something missing. There's always going to be something missing. I know some people that read the book that love it. I know some people that read the book that don't like this take. It doesn't line up what they envision. And then there's some people who are kind of obviously lukewarm about it. But I honestly, I know I'm gushing, but I think this movie is super important. It's already doing above what people expected it to do, which is not surprising to me, honestly. I think it deserves it. I think Denis really loves this. There's going to be a part 3. I don't think he's going to do more than that, unless he gets a huge paycheck, I imagine. But Denis seems like somebody that is really good about having a plan. He has other stuff he wants to work on. Can't do Dune forever. It's already going to be probably almost 10 years of Dune in his life, so I'm sure he would want to move on after part 3, but I could get more and more of this stuff forever. I hope. I know there's a series coming out. I hope it doesn't get diluted a lot, and a lot of people compare it to Star Wars. Dune obviously was the inspiration for Star Wars. I hope they don't get diluted. It doesn't get diluted like Star Wars currently is. I hope they're course correcting in the right direction with that. But yeah, let me know if you guys have seen Dune Part 2. Let me know if you've enjoyed it or if you enjoyed it, if you have not seen it yet. I tried not to spoil too much in this. I just really wanted to kind of gush about the performances and the beauty of Dune. I know Denis said something recently where he wasn't crazy about dialogue. He thinks films have been polluted or corrupted by TV with using a lot of dialogue, and you feel that in these movies, that he's not a huge fan of dialogue, and when he uses it, it's very intentional. It's to set up emotion. It's to get you down on the level of the characters after things happen, to kind of catch you up on what they're feeling. But he's definitely a big show and tell your emotions through the cinematography, through what the action is on the screen, through the stillness of some scenes. This is why Denis is one of my favorite working directors right now. Blade Runner 2049 is one of my favorite films. I would even argue in a lot of ways better than the original. And Arrival is absolutely one of my favorite films of all time. So I think Denis and the team, the whole cast, really, there's so many people I didn't mention, but I could be here all day kind of gushing about everybody. It's just such a beautiful, beautiful film. I don't even know how to really talk about it without gushing about it, because it's just incredible. We have some people here. Hello, Frame into Focus. What's up? Hope you're doing well. I know it's been a while. I'm trying to get back to it. Trying to get back to making the videos. Just have to figure out a new setup, but I'm going to use my webcam to make stuff for now. Just to wrap up here, if people are new to the channel, I know we have some people, some old regulars tuning in. I appreciate you guys. If there's new people here, please subscribe. I'm working on getting this channel back up and running. I'm working on doing a show that I'll hopefully do once or twice a week about entertainment news and kind of just do kind of my take on things. We could talk about specific news that aligns with my interests. We'll do some superhero stuff. We'll do some kaiju stuff. We'll talk about Dune and Star Wars and stuff like that. But I want to touch on a lot more smaller films too that need more attention and more love. So I'm working on figuring out what a show like that looks like, how to get guests on it, but we'll go into that a little bit later. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you liked my rambles on Dune Part 2. I appreciate you watching and being here. This is the beginning of a new era for the channel, so let's make this great. Like this video, subscribe, share it, comment, do all that stuff. It really helps the channel out. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching, and see you later.